We resided on the south side with our family of 4 boys, and we started to attend the Assumption Greek Orthodox Church on Central and Harrison. It got to be to the point that we were rushing in the morning and trying to get over to church on time.
When you went to church at Assumption, it was always crowded, and it was an older crowd too. Let's put it that way. We're all young. We just got out of the service and things like that, so we were looking to make our mark.
We all got to thinking a little bit, boy, wouldn't it be great to have a church out in our area?
The early meetings were held either in a restaurant of one of the parishioners, or one of the board members, or a board member's home.
And we talked about what we could do about getting the church into Westchester. And then we find out later that there was a church, Holy Apostles, we had a charter and everything.
And they had some funds as well, not many, but $10,000. Of course, you don't build a church with $10,000, but we did have funds to at least get together, get a nucleus of men and start talking about it. And what are we going to do about it for our families?
We had fine young men, I was a young man too, who felt as though they couldn't do enough to help our church.
And as a matter of fact, we had a meeting at Jimmy Fondeas' home. I still remember that. And that's where everything was formulated. And we elected a president that night, Dr. Tamaris. George Manis was vice president. And we started our church.
Chris Chiganos had visited me a few times on 26th Street in St. Louis, where I had a food mart, and mentioned the fact that his brother Bill was in the seminary and he was going to graduate.
I was in Pittsfield at the time, quite happy. It was a small community, but ready to move on if the call came, and it did.
Now, I don't know what Chris's conversation, how he twisted Father's arm to come to Chicago, because number one, we didn't have anything to give them, to say, well, listen, we can give you a house or a parish or something like that. We had nothing.
I remember one person telling me that, we have no salary to guarantee you for your first month. And then they said, well, what we'll do is we'll actually contribute each, and we'll have a salary for you. Something will be there for you.
Now, to initially pay our priest, all 20 board members came up with $100, $100 each.
Which was a very modest amount that they offered. And I didn't care. And I said to myself and to them, I don't fear a thing. I said, God is great, and He's going to supply.
We had a nucleus of, say, like board members, and he said, well, we've got to find a location, we've got to do something.
And we didn't have deep pockets, There was no, I'll give $100,000, I'd never even heard of it.
At that time, of course, the Nixon School did offer us the use of the gym.
We had borrowed from this church and that church some of the ecclesiastical appointments that we needed for liturgy, and away we started off. July 12th, 1959.
What I recall is that we were scrambling. We came to the church like at 8 o'clock and tried to set up an altar. We had tables, and Father Bill said, we need psalty. A person happened to show up that morning that happened to be Sam Gordon, who was a trained psalty, probably one of the elite psaltists, as it turned out, sitting there saying, I think I can do that. And before you know it, we had psalty.
The Aya Trapeza, or the Holy Altar, was underneath the basketball hoop.
We all were sitting on folding chairs, and when Father would raise up his hand to speak to the Lord, there was a basket right above him, the basketball basket.
We had about 25 families to start with. And then every week on Sundays, it would increase by a family or two or individuals, and soon it began to multiply. I was impressed again with the word of mouth that got around. People were still rather attached to the Assumption Church, the mother church. We're not too eager to make changes. First of all, I don't think they believed that we'd be around too long. I thought they'd feel, well, with just a handful of people, where are they going in this day and age? But things worked out so beautifully. God's hand was in all of our planning. His divine direction was there with us, and He moved us right along into a position where we can execute our particular plans and our hopes and wishes.
That's when we started looking for a church, not a monstrous church, a church.
Late 59, early 60, we purchased this Lutheran church and became available.
Broadview was ideal for us. It was close to where we were at. It wasn't too expensive. I don't remember in them days how much we paid for it, but it wasn't that much. And whatever it was, we could get a mortgage on it and cover ourselves.
I remember when we entered our little building in Broadview. Men, women, grandfathers, grandmothers, little children, we were all working on our hands and knees, cleaning up, putting some nails on the wall for pictures, for icons, people contributing all kinds of time and energy and the particular gifts that they had. I was deeply moved by that, and that was a spirit. In fact, I told them that then. I said, look, family, listen to me. What we are experiencing now will never be repeated. It's unique.
The women were singing while they were in church, scrubbing the floors down there in the basement, getting it ready for the church for Sunday school and things like that. And the women were just having a ball. And your father went by and he said, you girls sound real good. He said, I have to get you in the choir.
The church was converted in such a way that it was very cozy, but very, very religious. It looked like a little Orthodox church with the iconostation that was built and whatever icons we could get up there. And we had a little spot for the choir and a spot for the psalter.
The women had their clubs and they were fabulous in forming things for us. Without the women, we probably wouldn't be able to where we're at now.
We had a nice basement in that church, and we converted that into a church hall. But we had some affairs in that church down in the basement. We had a couple of dinner dances.
So that was a wonderful time. And then those days, we used to have 25-cent candles, 50-cent candles, lambada, you had a million candles. And then somewhere down the line, Father said, we have so many candles. What is the difference? All we want is the light. Why do we have so many candles? So we went to one candle only. We've never, since then, there's never been more than one candle because the light is there.
We here at Holy Apostle initiated the first fair share program in this whole country, and it's been emulated by many, many parishes. We felt that rather than have the burden of supporting this church just on certain individuals, we felt that every member of the church should pick up their share of the support of this whole entity.
So then Father said, you know what we should do? This is a church for the people. Let's have fair share. And what is fair share? We all gave together. No, someone next to me could have given $10, the next one gave 20. We all gave. And it wasn't a matter of how much you gave, we just gave.
We wanted a future. We felt that we could do it. It was a big step financially, and we didn't know about how those funds would be coming in, but once the ball got rolling, we did it.
We found a good piece of property. It was actually fronting on Wolf Road. What more could we ask for? Broadview served our purpose. Now let's go forward. And that's what we were, going forward all the time.
We felt that Westchester was kind of a focal point for, the people from Elmhurst, Villa Park, Lombard, as you go around Clarendon Hills, Hinsdale, LaGrange Park, Maywood, Melrose Park. It was kind of like a center of gravity. We were able to buy the property free and clear. Our next step was, of course, to build a church.
But we couldn't agree on any of the Greek architects at all. And they all were referring to churches they had designed or so. And we were trying to tell them that we want something different.
We engaged an architect and happened to be a non-Greek. We got castigated for that, but you know what? We allowed everyone to do their own presentation, and we felt that the best presentation was made by an architect by the name of Ed Dart.
Edward Dart, God rest his soul, was a wonderful mind. He was a brilliant man, actually. And he was a very good Episcopalian. And he had told me, I've gone to Venice. And he said, I've seen St. Mark's there. He said, I think we can work with what ideas I've gotten from St. Mark's, apply them into the ideas that you had and the needs that you have for the church.
I was scared. Scared because the money, it seemed like so tremendous amount of money. And I don't think we spent more, I don't think we had, was the church $300,000 or when we started or something like that?
Cost us $274,000. I remember that number. Now we had to go get a loan. I happened to be, at that time, I was the secretary, and my compadre, George Manis, was the president. So he gave me a call and said, Fick, they call me Fick, we need 2 signatures on this loan. What do you think? I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, well, we got no choice. I said, fine, let's go sign it. We had a groundbreaking ceremony in 1964. And the church was completed by June of 1965. And we had the opening of the doors.
Well, it was the opening of the doors. It took place in 1965. I think it was June 16 or 17. Filled with emotion. I mean, we figured that here we are, it's 1965. We came here in 59. That's a relatively short period of time.
I was so proud of what we had done. And I congratulated Father Bill, and I asked Father, did you ever think this day would come? He said it was in the hands, something like this. It was the hands of the Lord. I had nothing to do with it. And he says, Andrew, you had a lot to do with it. No, I didn't, Father. A lot of members said it.
Just to be here, see the people walking into church, one by one, one after the other, seeing their faces. And I looked at them and said, these are the people, men and women of God. They were the ones that committed to this. I have nothing to do with it.
50 years now. It's hard to believe that we're here and really appreciating what we all worked for as a parish.
We seem to be a nice group that really, we're all looking to go someplace, and we got to where we want to go. Some of them are not here today, but I'm sure they're having. So, I'm happy.
Never forget the fact that these initial 20 board members had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get this little program started.
On the office facade, on the outside, external facade, there's a verse from Proverbs that I put up there, I had to put up there a long, long time ago. Where there's no vision, the people perish. So we're trying to maintain as a focus in this community, not how we lived, how we're living, but what is in the future as well.